What's up YouTube, Capital G here, looking at some of Regi's new cards coming out and Maximum Crisis. If we're talking about Regi, you guys know we're talking about DDD. Well, I guess if you don't watch the anime, then you don't know that. But Regi is the guy on the TV show that plays DDD. If you've never seen Arc V, he's kind of similar to like Kaiba, but he's not as big of a jerk. He even has a little brother just like Kaiba does on the show. So anyways, 3 cards to discuss. The first is DD Ghost. It's a level 2 Dark Fiend. It's a tuner. That's pretty cool because DDD is obviously, they've got some synchros, plus they like to go into Omega periodically so that they can bring back their green slime and they can put back their red slime in the graveyard. 600 attack, 300 defense, and the effect number 1 says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a dark contract or a DD monster in your graveyard except itself. Send 1 card with the same name as that target from your deck to the graveyard. So it's basically like a Foolish Burial pseudo sense. I would imagine that you're probably going to want to use this with green slime and red slime the most, because those are cards that can activate from the graveyard and cards that are best used in the graveyard. Well, I mean, green slime lets you fuse from the hand. So those are the main 2 cards that I would imagine you want to use that with. Effect number 2. If this card is banished, you can target 1 of your banished Dark Contract cards or DD monsters except Ghost and return it to the graveyard. This is a card that I think is good because of both effects, like a combination of both. If it only had 1 effect, or if you couldn't activate both of them in the same turn, I think this card would kind of be mediocre, but you can activate both of these cards, or both of these effects in the same turn and multiple times. And effect number 2 is obviously easy to activate because you guys know Red Slime banishes, so Red Slime can banish this. You can use your contract of the swamp. You can banish this, and then you can just put your red slime or your green slime back in the graveyard so you can use them again during like your next turn. So I think this card is actually pretty good, especially the fact that it's a tuner. Then we have a rank 3 DDD monster, and as soon as I saw like rank 3, I was like, wait, what? Because I could be mistaken about this. I could totally end up messing this up, but I did a search on YGO Pro, and I swear to goodness that DDDs only have 1 level 3 monster, and it's Night Howling, and I'm like, unless they're going to release a lot more level 3 monsters, I don't know how we're supposed to consistently make rank 3s in this deck, because it's just like not enough of them. So anyways, this is DDD Boulder King Darius. It's actually Earth, which is just, it always kind of triggers me when DDD monsters aren't dark. I'm just like, why aren't you dark? Like, why is Alexander Wind? You know what I mean? Like, I just make them all dark, man. Rank 3, it's an Earth Fiend. 1900 attack, 1000 defense. It requires 2 level 3 fiend monsters. Effect number 1, once per turn during the player's turn, you can detach 1 exceed material from this card, target a dark contract you control, destroy it, and then if you do, draw 1 card. This is a pretty decent effect. I mean, the obvious is you can use your dark contracts effects and then you can blow them up and just draw a card. Like if you want to use swamp, you want a fusion, and then you want to draw a card, you know, later in that turn after you've already gotten your like utility out of swamp. Or the other one, the Rhoda one, which name I always forget, I just call it the Rhoda one. You guys know what I'm talking about. Just search off of it and then blow it up. You can also save yourself from dying to your own burn damage from your cards, or if your opponent is dumb enough to try and blow up your back row, like blow up one of your covenants or contracts with like MST or, you know, Twin Twister, you can just pop those and draw 1. I don't think anyone's going to be dumb enough to do that. Effect number 2. If this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can detach 1 Exceed material from this card. This card cannot be destroyed by that battle. Also, destroy the opponent's monster after damage calculation, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. I like burn damage. Burn damage is just so hard to play around because there aren't a lot of cards that like give you life points in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Upstart Goblin is like the only commonly played one, and it has been for years. So this effect is super practical. I mean, basically just ram this shit into something bigger, activate the effect. I mean, you still do take the damage. That's like a meme from Yu-Gi-Oh! RV. You take the damage, but you get rid of your opponent's monster, and they technically take damage as well. So, I mean, I can honestly see you using both of these effects in 1 turn. So I wouldn't be surprised if you summon this card somehow. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but if you summon this card and you use both Exceed materials in the same turn that you summon it, because both effects seem very, very practical. And then lastly, their continuous trap card. It's called Dark Contract with the Eternal Darkness. Okay, Eternal Darkness, great GameCube game if you guys don't know. Shout outs to Eternal Darkness. Retro Studios, was it who made that game? No, I think those are the Metroid guys. I can't remember who made the game, but it was definitely a Nintendo second party. Continuous Trap. While 2 DD cards are in your pendulum zones. Your opponent cannot target monsters on the field with spell/trap effects, nor tribute monsters on the field for tribute summons, nor use monsters on the field as material for fusion, synchro, or XYZ summons. Effect 2 is just built into all of them. Pay 1,000 life points during your or take 1,000 damage during your standby phase. So to me, this is a floodgate with actually a pretty decent amount of potential. You know what this is kind of like? It's kind of like a domain. It's weird because it's kind of like a domain. Now, the thing about DDDs is DDDs don't generally keep cards in their pendulum zones for long. Either they'll use the effect, or a lot of times they'll summon cards from the pendulum zones. DDD is a pendulum deck, but it doesn't really pendulum summon all that much. And I could see this card being side deck worthy. Like, this could totally be useful. Think about if you're playing against like Monarchs, right? I mean, like, if you flip this over against them, they can't tribute any monsters for tribute summon. So basically the only thing they can do is use like Monarch Stormforth, or they can use Prime, but outside of that they won't. They'll basically just get shut down. If you're playing against a deck that has to XYZ, a deck that has to, you know what I mean, synchro to basically do any of its plays, like Serteller Knights, like they could just be completely shut down. However, you guys should know, I'm gonna quote Sora from Arc V here, fusion summons can be done from the hand, which is why fusion is not only my favorite mechanic, but it is the best mechanic. You can still totally fusion and like get around this card. ABC can just banish from the graveyard in fusion. You guys know that there are multiple decks, fusion decks that have like their own miracle fusions. I mean, shit, DDD is a deck that has its own fucking miracle fusion. Lunar Lights have one, Heroes have one, so many other decks have one, Fluffles have one. Plus, you can obviously fusion from the hand. So this really doesn't stop fusion summoning all that much, to be honest. I mean, shit, you can even use something like instant fusion, and boom, there's a fusion right there. So there's so many ways to fuse and get around this card, but I do think it is potentially side deck worthy. I wouldn't run this card in the main deck because it does like require you to kind of play into it. Like, you're putting 2 cards in the pendulum zones is not something DDDs just do naturally. So this is a card that you're definitely going to maybe want to side deck if you're going to play it at all. It can be a potentially great card, but it also could be a potentially meh card. So let me know what you guys think of these cards. Smash that motherfucking like button until YouTube's shitty ass algorithm gets back to where it needs to be. If you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already.